Welcome to this exhibition tonight. I'm John Simons, Executive Dean of Arts and currently Acting Provost at Macquarie University, and I'm very pleased to welcome you here this evening. But before we do anything else, I'm very proud to invite my friend Lex Dad to present the Welcome to Country. Lex.
Thank you, John. My name's Lex Dad. I'm a Darug man from the Wamali clan over in Prospect. Today we meet on Watamatical country, part of the Darug Nation. It's protocol for me to firstly start off with pay respects to my elders, both past and present. Pay respects to Mother Earth, Kaniti Thakun, and Father Sky, Muka. And pay respects to Mother Earth and Father Sky, and especially Mother Earth because she gives us everything that we need. Not necessarily what we want. I've been searching out in the bush for a Ferrari for years and I never found one. But everything that we need and everything that we have here today, our clothes, our computers, everything, we can't find nothing that doesn't come from Mother. And we really try to push that home to people because we have to look after Mother. Because in recent years in this country, she hasn't been looked after. She's deteriorating. We can't eat and drink out of a lot of our rivers. We can't go through the bush without seeing Coca-Cola cans and McDonald's wrappers, which is really, really sad. So I like to push that home to people that we really have to look after Mother. Now, welcome to country. I always explain a welcome to country to people because a lot of people don't know what a welcome to country is for and why. In Australia, there is over 300 different Aboriginal countries, okay? And over 500 different languages and dialects. Boundaries are respected. I live up in the Blue Mountains, right on the borders of my country, of Darug country, and I'll give you an example. Over the top of the mountains is Wiradjuri country. If I wanted to go in there traditionally into their country, I would go and sit on the borders and light a fire. I would send up smoke and wait to be approached by a traditional custodian. It could take up to 2 weeks. They'll come and ask me my business. Why do I want to go into their country? I'm passing through for knowledge, to share stories, or going to see more family or friends in further distant countries. And they would tell me the rules of that country, what I was allowed to eat, what I wasn't allowed to eat, what sites I was allowed to go and see, and so forth. And usually a celebration would follow, a corroboree, and they would welcome me into their country. So without further ado, I'd like to say, Warami Miriga, Darug Barunga, welcome friends to Darug country. Didjurigo, thank you.
Thanks, Lex. It's great to be reminded of those things, important to be reminded of those things. So, on behalf of the Faculty of Arts and Macquarie University Art Gallery, I'd like to welcome you to the opening of the exhibition History in Colour. A new exhibition, History in Colour, by David Lever, records street life as it might have appeared between 1900 and 1950. David's work is often based on early photographs and early newspaper reports, and offers a witty and I think often moving panorama of everyday Australians going about their everyday business. Moreover, the artist's work arguably provides an embodiment of place as a lived experience, addressed through memory, memorabilia and historical documentation. Memory, personal recollection and authoritative history are sensitively interpreted, interwoven and reconstituted as a visual aesthetic in David's paintings. And while insights into the cultural mores and attitudes that have come to characterise early 20th century Australia are well referenced in his work, the selected colour palette of buildings, dress, advertising, vehicles and the like articulates relationship between hues, which fashion has since abandoned. Structural relationships between buildings emphasise the conventional, almost haphazard irregularity of urban design of the period. Streetscapes offering textured walls, peeling paint, rusting corrugated iron sheeting, and often completely denuded of vegetation, are populated by grey-coated individuals, apron-adorned women, and shoeless children. This is an older Australia, previously visually recalled through box brownie black and white photos. And the sensuality of the colour provided by the artist revitalises and renews these images, making an interpretive reconstruction which seeks a place of recognition and identity within our own hearts and minds. few words about the gallery. Exhibitions at this university and this university art gallery don't magically appear. They don't drop from the sky overnight. And there are many individuals to thank for their involvement, beginning with the gallery's wonderful curators, Rhonda Davis and Leonard Januszewski. And they're assisted in this instant by Kate Hargraves, Rocket Matler, Kathy Gonzalez, Aditi Rahaya, Effie Alexakis, Paper Monkey Design, the Lighthouse Press, and Birchall's Fine Art Transport. And to open the exhibition officially, I'd like to invite Dr. Peter Doyle, Senior Lecturer in Media at Macquarie Universities and a well-known author. Peter has a BA from UTS, we don't mention that one actually, Peter, and a PhD from Macquarie, we mentioned that one. And in addition to his senior lecturing role in media studies at Macquarie, Peter's an award-winning author, both of fiction and of non-fiction. He won Ned Kelly Awards for his crime novels Get Rich Quick and Amaze Your Friends. And he's also a musician, playing lap steel and slide guitar, with a long association with the Sydney blues, rockabilly, country and pub rock scenes. And he's also an exhibiting visual artist. Whew. So he also somehow has found time, Peter, to introduce this exhibition. So I'm very pleased to welcome you to the podium.
Yeah, thanks very much, John. And maybe I better get a plug in for my own show right while I get this chance. If you've got a lazy hour or two and you're in the city, Museum of Sydney at the moment, Suburban Noir is an exhibition that I've curated with a number of artworks and forensic photographs taken in Sydney in the 1950s and 60s, and that's a big concern of mine at the moment. So Museum of Sydney, upstairs, not in the big gallery, in the little gallery at the side, Suburban Noir, from now until the end of time. Okay. It really is a pleasure to be doing this gig tonight. I became aware of David's work, I think, some years ago here at Macquarie, in the old library building, a drab, typical institutional space, trudging up the stairs when I came upon David's Arthur Stace paintings, the guy who wrote Eternity a quarter or 500,000 times, depending on how you count, on the streets of Sydney in the dead of night between the 40s and 60s. And a kind of riveting moment to see David's paintings in that setting, and that very hard to actually name quality that's in David's work. It is clearly about something, in that case Arthur Stace, the eccentric, the Sydney eccentric, but so much more as well. There's another kind of energy in the paintings as there was in those, and I was really quite captivated by them. Captivated by the subject, I am a sort of sucker for the past. I'm a past tragic, like a certain number of us are. But there's something about the execution in David's work as well. It's not simply like looking at documentary evidence of the past. There's a book I read, I think, in my early 20s, E.L. Doctorow, I think his first really big novel, his first bestseller was a book called Ragtime, in which he sort of evoked New York in the early 20th century and the tensions and the people, and there was something in that book that I've kind of been interested in ever since. And it's not just like inventorying the past, it's not just kind of listing what was there and checking it off. In the E.L. Doctorow book, the past is this set of tensions, they're dynamic tensions between people, what they want and what's stopping them, the physical world they inhabit, the emotional world they inhabit, and the cultural barriers that stand in their way. A person I later came to know, but for a long time I just admired his work, a guy about my age who lives in New York and wrote a fantastic book called Low Life about 19th century New York. He said his sort of epiphanic moment was when they were filming E.L. Doctorow's Ragtime. Miloš Forman was doing it, and they used the Lower East Side in New York, which is still the same tenements are there that were there a century ago. And my associate, who lived there in a crappy sort of share flat at the time in the 70s or early 80s, was going home one night, and they'd recreated the 1900 streetscape in the Lower East Side to shoot the film. Anyway, after shooting, there was just abandoned, and my friend Luke was walking home and sort of saw this 1900 recreated with not too much difficulty in the streets. And suddenly that moment, yeah, this is how it was, this is what it looked like. And as he describes very, very beautifully in an essay he wrote about it, was that moment where it became more real than what the present was. Now, that's what I see in David's work. I think there's something about it. It's not just, it's more than documentary. And David disavows that it's art and says it is a kind of documentary history exercise, and I'm fine with that. You can call it what you like, but I think there's more than simply doffing the cap towards the past. The thing about the past, I would say, is that most of us are too busy with what we do, we're too busy with the concerns of the moment, we're imprisoned in the right now. Now, the right now is a very fleeting and effervescent thing. It's almost not here at all. The past is immense, it's almost infinite, and that's always here. That's huge. The right now is nothing. It's the turnaround on what we normally think about that the past is some residual thing. It's not even past, as they say. And I think David really gets that, and there's a lot of hard work he does in actually collecting flakes of paint and bits of scrapings and old bits of wood, as he was talking about, and sanding them down and revealing the colour underneath, the colour from 40, 50, 60, 100 years ago. And that's not just work. I think there's a work of perception there. And then what happens, people like David do that, or like E.L. Doctorow did in that book, and once they've done that hard yakka of actually perceiving it, working through, they've brokered something. They've actually ushered something into our presence that wasn't really there before. It was there in only residual or fleeting form. And that's what I think, you feel that straight away. You look at these paintings and there's an immediacy in them, and there's a kind of like they come into the room. You don't have to go through into the frame to get there. They come into our space very much so. I think there's a very friendly accessibility about them, and I don't mean that in any kind of denigrating or patronising way. I think it's a really wonderful thing. I think David does want us to enjoy the pictures, and you do enjoy these pictures. They are just simply enjoyable. But to further my thesis that it's not just dutiful recording of the past, you get to paintings like that one with I can't remember what the reference work that's in the advertisement for the Yankee Doodle tobacco, but the colour there and the blue and just the weirdness of the scene on the side of a corner shop in Sydney and wherever that is. There's a kind of layering there that is getting pretty far out. There's a wackiness to it that I think is fantastic. That's really dynamic and muscular. And the one over there of the Barara fancy dress dance is a killer diller as well. And I just, again, where David's taken a certain sort of imaginative liberty, I suppose, and that post-sunset blue sky, and then that sort of sickly orange light, the early electrical grid, I suppose, in Sydney. I really believe the colour of that light inside the dance hall. And then you've got the fancy dress people out front, which kind of gives it a completely surreal. And the world's a lot loonier than you would have thought. And this is, I suppose, the last thing I have to say about David's work is I personally have a bee in my bonnet. I mean, I write books that are set in the past, and I do forensic, work, collections of forensic photos all about the past. And people go, oh yeah, sometimes publicists say, that's like nostalgia. I go, no, it's not nostalgia, because nostalgia is, the way I kind of understand it, the way it's used nowadays, it's a sort of, it's filtering the past in a very selective way into just this sort of comforting fiction. What you see in David's work, you see actually in those ads and the big writing, there's really an essay there about what really moved people, what was kind of driving them in the past. So it's not just a kind of flat, dead It's not a representation of a dead past, it's very dynamic and it has those relationships, exactly what I said about the E.L. Doctorow book in the beginning. I really love the Olympia Deluxe Theatre there, which if you look closely you'll see there's an amazing festival of Australiana cinema there. Impossible, I guess, to have it all at one time. But yeah, so enjoy the work. It is a pleasure for me to be here, and congratulations to David and to the gallery for staging this wonderful show. And with pleasure, I declare it open. So,
thank you, Peter. Thank you. Peter?
Thanks so much.
Okay, thank you very much. Of course, the scary thing about that is when you talk about 40, 50 years ago, you realise that your own life is now the past. Anyway, well, we hope you'll all enjoy this exhibition at the gallery, and it'll be on until the 20th of December, so do come back and have another look and tell your friends. There will be an artist floor talk on Wednesday, the 11th of December at 11 a.m, and you'll find more details of that on the artist website. The paintings are for sale. Do inquire via the art gallery. And that concludes this evening's formalities. Thank you for attending tonight's opening and for supporting the university's art gallery. Thank you.